Welcome to the delightful adventures of Peter Rabbit and Benjamin Bunny by Beatrix Potter. Click on either of the blue arrows until you come to your name. Once you've found your name, click on the sign with the green arrow. If your name isn't here, go to the Parent menu, then you can type your name. We're off to the marvelous country world of Peter Rabbit. If you would like to hear about the adventures of Peter Rabbit, click on Peter and you can read his story. If you would like to hear about Peter's cousin, Benjamin Bunny, click on Benjamin and you can read his story.
The Tale of Benjamin Bunny. One morning, a little rabbit sat on a bank. He pricked his ears and listened to the trit-trot of a pony. Morning. The first part of the day when you wake up after the night. Bank. The ground along the edge of a river or road, often steeply sloping. Pricked his ears. Raised and turned his ears towards a sound. Trit-trot. The sound of a horse's hooves when it is trotting. One morning, a little rabbit sat on a bank. He pricked his ears and listened to the trit-trot of a pony.
I believe I can hear a pony.
Very well then. We'll read you the story.
A gig was coming along the road. It was driven by Mr. McGregor, and beside him sat Mrs. McGregor in her best bonnet.
Very well then. We'll read you the story.
As soon as they had passed, little Benjamin Bunny slid down into the road and set off with a hop, skip and a jump.
I shall call upon my cousins.
Benjamin Bunny, Peter Rabbit's cousin. Slid, moved over something quickly and smoothly. Skip, a light jumping movement. Hop, to jump, especially on one foot. Jump, to move up or spring suddenly off the ground. As soon as they had passed, little Benjamin Bunny slid down into the road and set off with a hop, skip and a jump.
I shall call upon my cousins.
Blackberries.
My paws are all purple.
The top berries are the best. Where's Peter?
As soon as they had passed, little Benjamin Bunny slid down into the lane. To call upon his relations, who lived in the wood at the back of Mr. McGregor's garden. Call upon. To visit. Relations. Members of your family, such as an aunt, cousin or uncle. Relative. To call upon his relations, who lived in the wood at the back of Mr. McGregor's garden. That wood was full of rabbit holes, and in the neatest, sandiest hole of all lived Benjamin's aunt and his cousins, Flopsy, Mopsy, Cottontail, and Peter. Rabbit hole. Underground burrow where rabbits live. Sandiest. With the most sand. That wood was full of rabbit holes.
I hope your paws are clean, my dears. Yes, Mother. Yes, Mother.
Old Mrs. Rabbit was a widow. She earned her living by knitting rabbit wool mittens and muffetees. I once bought a pair at a bazaar. Widow. A woman whose husband has died. Mittens. Gloves without separate fingers. Muffetees. Fur or knitted cuffs used to keep your hands warm. Bazaar. A marketplace with lots of small stalls where people sell different things. A sale of arts and crafts. Old Mrs. Rabbit was a widow. She earned her living by knitting rabbit wool mittens and muffetees.
Mother, we would like some tea. We shall need some more lavender soon. Mother, we would like some tea.
She also sold herbs and rosemary tea and rabbit tobacco, which is what we call lavender.
I wonder where Peter is.
Herbs. Plants which you add to food to give it extra taste. Rosemary tea. A type of tea that is made from the herb called rosemary. Rabbit tobacco. Another name for the herb lavender. Lavender. A sweet-smelling bush with pale purple flowers in summer. She also...
I wonder where Peter is.
Little Benjamin did not very much want to see his aunt.
Click the puzzle piece. Very. That's right. Very. That's right. Fairy. There it is.
Little Benjamin did not very much want to see his aunt. Fir tree. He came round the back of the fir tree and nearly tumbled upon the top of his cousin Peter. Fir tree. An evergreen tree with needle-like leaves and cones. Tumbled upon. Fallen on top of. He came round the back of the fir tree and nearly tumbled upon the top of his cousin Peter. Peter was sitting by himself. He looked poorly and was dressed in a red cotton pocket handkerchief.
What's wrong with you, Peter?
Red cotton pocket handkerchief. A piece of cloth which is kept in the pocket and can be used to blow your nose, made of red cotton fabric. Peter was sitting... "Peter," said little Benjamin in a whisper, "who has got your clothes?" Whisper. A very quiet voice. "Peter," said little Benjamin in a whisper, "who has got your clothes?" Peter replied, "The scarecrow in Mr. McGregor's garden," and described how he'd been chased about the garden and had dropped his shoes and coat.
Mr. McGregor ran after me with the rake and I lost my jacket and shoes.
Scarecrow. A dummy which looks like a real person. Describe. To say what something or someone is like. Dropped. Allowed to fall to the ground. Let go. Coat. A garment with long sleeves. A jacket. Peter replied,
Mr. McGregor ran after me with the rake and I lost my jacket and shoes.
Little Benjamin sat down beside his cousin and assured him that Mr. McGregor had gone out in a gig and Mrs. McGregor also. Mrs. McGregor. Mr. McGregor's wife, who put Peter Rabbit's father in a pie. Gig. An old-fashioned two-wheeled horse-drawn carriage. Assured. Certain of something. Little Benjamin sat down beside his cousin and assured him that Mr. McGregor had gone out in a gig, and certainly for the day, because she was wearing her best bonnet. Peter said he hoped that it would rain. Bonnet. A hat that ties under the chin with ribbons, which used to be worn by women when they dressed up. And certainly
Mrs. McGregor had on her best hat. I hope it rains then.
At this point, old Mrs. Rabbit's voice was heard inside the rabbit hole, calling, "Cottontail, Cottontail, fetch some more chamomile." Chamomile, an herb often used to make medicine. Fetch. Go for something. Retrieve. At this point, old Mrs. Rabbit's voice was heard inside the rabbit hole, calling, "Cottontail!"
Hurry now, Cottontail.
Peter said he thought he might feel better if he went for a walk.
Come on then, Peter.
They went away hand in hand and got upon the flat top of the wall at the bottom of the wood. From here they looked down into Mr. McGregor's garden. Hand in hand. To be holding someone's hand. Upon. On or on top of something. Flat top. A smooth, level surface. They went away hand in hand and got upon the flat top of the wall at the bottom of the wood. From here they looked down into Mr. McGregor's garden. Peter's coat and shoes were plainly to be seen upon the scarecrow, topped with an old tam-o'-shanter of Mr. McGregor's. Tam-o'-shanter, a Scottish hat for men.
If you'd like to return to the story,
Plainly, simply, clearly. Peter's coat and shoes were plainly to be seen upon the...
Look at that, Peter. Look at that, Peter.
Little Benjamin said, "It spoils people's clothes to squeeze under a gate. The proper way to get in is to climb down a pear tree." Spoils, damages, ruins. Proper, correct, right. Pear tree, a tree upon which pears grow. Peas, a very... Little Benjamin... Peter fell down head first, but it was of no consequence, as the bed below was newly raked and quite soft. Of no consequence. Not important. Raked. Cleared of leaves and twigs and smoothed with a rake. Peter fell...
Take care, Peter.
It had been sown with lettuces. They left a great many odd little footmarks all over the bed, especially little Benjamin, who was wearing clogs. Clogs. Heavy wooden-soled shoes worn in the country to protect your feet from mud and water. Footmarks. Footprints. Marks in the ground where someone has walked. Lettuces. A leafy plant eaten raw in salads. Sown. Planted with seeds. It had been sown with lettuces. They left a great... Little Benjamin said that the first thing to be done was to get back Peter's clothes in order that they might be able to use the pocket handkerchief. Pocket handkerchief. A piece of cloth which is kept in the pocket and can be used to blow your nose. Little Benjamin said that the first thing to be done was to get back Peter's clothes in order that they might be able to use the pocket handkerchief. They took them off the scarecrow. There had been rain during the night. There was water in the shoes, and the coat was somewhat shrunk. Shrunk. To have become smaller. They took them off the scarecrow. There had been rain during the night. There was water in the shoes, and the coat was somewhat shrunk. Benjamin tried on the tam-o'-shanter, but it was too big for him.
This hat's too loose for me.
Then he suggested that they should fill the pocket handkerchief with onions as a little present for his aunt. Present. Something you give to someone. A gift. Then he suggested that they should fill...
My aunt will like these onions.
Peter did not seem to be enjoying himself. He kept hearing noises. Benjamin, on the contrary, was perfectly at home and ate a lettuce leaf. Noises. Sounds, often loud or frightening. On the contrary. The opposite of. Lettuce leaf. Part of a leafy plant used in salads. Peter did not seem to be enjoying himself. He kept hearing noises. Benjamin, on the contrary, was perfectly at home and ate a lettuce leaf. He said that he was in the habit of coming to the garden with his father to get lettuces for their Sunday dinner. In the habit. Doing often. A routine. Father. Male parent. He said that he was...
Father likes this kind the best.
The name of little Benjamin's papa was old Mr. Benjamin Bunny. The lettuces certainly were very fine. Old Mr. Benjamin Bunny. Little Benjamin Bunny's father, and Peter Rabbit's uncle. The name of little Benjamin's papa was old Mr. Benjamin Bunny. The lettuces certainly were very fine. Peter did not eat anything. He said he should like to go home. Presently he dropped half the onions. Dropped. Allowed to fall to the ground. Let go. Half. One of two equal parts of a whole thing. Peter did not eat anything. He said he should like to go home. Presently he dropped half the onions. Little Benjamin said that it was not possible to get back up the pear tree with a load of vegetables.
Come along, Peter, we'll find the gate.
Load. Something heavy to be carried. Pear tree. A tree upon which pears grow. He led the way boldly towards the other end of the garden. They went along a little walk on planks under a sunny red brick wall. Boldly, bravely, without fear. Planks. Long, flat pieces of wood. Boards. He led the way boldly towards the other end of the...
This way!
The mice sat on their doorsteps cracking cherry stones. They winked at Peter Rabbit and little Benjamin Bunny. Cracking. Breaking open, such as cracking nutshells. cherry stone, the hard, nut-like pit inside a cherry. Winked, closed one eye very quickly and opened it again. The mice sat on their doorsteps cracking cherry stones. They winked at Peter Rabbit and little Benjamin Bunny. Presently, Peter let the pocket handkerchief go again.
Oh dear!
They got amongst flower pots and frames and tubs. Peter heard noises worse than ever. His eyes were as big as lollipops.
To begin, you'll need to pick the number of onions you'd like to play with. You'll have a go with 15 onions, will you? You've caught a lot of onions.
They got amongst flower pots and frames and...
Do come on, Peter!
Flower pot. A clay or terracotta container in which flowers grow. Frames. A wooden box and glass box used to grow plants in to protect them from frost. Tubs. Large wooden containers used to hold water. Lollipops. A big round hard candy on a stick. They got amongst flower pots and frames.
Do come on, Peter!
He was a step or two in front of his cousin when he suddenly stopped. This is what those little rabbits saw round that corner. Round the corner, around the edge or bend. He was a step or two in...
Come and show yourself, you wee beastie.
Little Benjamin took one look, and then, in half a minute less than no time, he hid himself and Peter and the onions underneath a large basket. Half a minute less than no time. A very short time. Basket. The cat got up and stretched herself, and came and sniffed at the basket. Perhaps she liked the smell of onions. Stretched, pulled or reached out to make longer. Basket. A woven bag or container with a handle used to carry things. The cat got up and... Diggory, diggory, delvit. A little old man in black velvet. He digs and he delves. You can see for yourselves. The mounds dug by Diggory Delvit. Anyway, she sat down upon the top of the basket. She sat there for 5 hours. I cannot draw you a picture of Peter and Benjamin underneath the basket because it was quite dark. and because the smell of onions was fearful, it made Peter Rabbit and little Benjamin cry. The sun got round behind the wood, and it was quite late in the afternoon, but still the cat sat upon the basket. At length there was a pitter-patter, pitter-patter, and some bits of mortar fell from the wall above. Basket. Pitter-patter. Sound made by light, quick footsteps. For example, rabbit's paws. Mortar. A mixture of sand, cement and water used to stick bricks together in building. At length there was a pitter-patter, pitter-patter, and some bits of mortar fell from the wall above. The cat looked up and saw old Mr. Benjamin Bunny prancing along the top of the wall of the upper terrace. Prancing. Jumping about in a playful, lively manner. Terrace. A raised flat area like a shelf in the ground. The cat looked up. Basket. He was smoking a pipe of rabbit tobacco and had a little switch in his hand. He was looking for his son. Switch. A long, thin stick. Wall. He was smoking. Old Mr. Bunny had no opinion whatever of cats. He took a tremendous jump off the top of the wall onto the top of the cat and cuffed it off the basket. Tremendous. Huge and powerful. Cuffed. Hit with the flat part of your hand. Old Mr. Bunny had a basket. Basket. And kicked it into the greenhouse, scratching off a handful of fur. The cat was too much surprised to scratch back. Scratch. A scraping sound. And kicked it into the greenhouse. Basket. When old Mr. Bunny had driven the cat into the greenhouse, he locked the door. Diggory. Then he came back to the basket and took out his son Benjamin by the ears and whipped him with the little switch. Whipped. Hit with a switch. Then he took out his nephew Peter. Then he took out the handkerchief of onions and marched out of the garden. Marched. Walked firmly, like a soldier. When Mr. McGregor returned, about half an hour later, he observed several things which perplexed him. Perplexed. Confused. It looked as though some person had been walking all over the garden in a pair of clogs, only the footmarks were too ridiculously little. Pair of clogs. Both the right and left shoe. Clogs. Ridiculously. In a silly way. Also, he could not understand how the cat could have managed to shut herself up inside the greenhouse, locking the door upon the outside. Managed, was able, could. Locking, closing, for example, a door so it cannot be opened without a key. When Peter got home, his mother forgave him because she was so glad to see that he had found his shoes and coat. Apply Dapply, a little brown mouse, goes to the cupboard in somebody's house. In somebody's cupboard there's everything nice. Cake, cheese, jam, biscuits, all charming for mice. Apply Dapply has little sharp eyes, and Apply Dapply is so fond of pies.
I found my coat and shoes, Mother, and here are some onions for you.
Cottontail and Peter folded up the pocket handkerchief. And old Mrs. Rabbit strung up the onions and hung them from the kitchen ceiling with the bunches of herbs and the rabbit tobacco. Strung up, hung up. The end.
If you would like to hear about the adventures of Peter Rabbit...